Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
Your chronic pain, anxiety, and other ailments don't take the weekend off. And neither does Relief Resources Dispensary. In addition to our extended dispensary hours, the drive-thru is now pulling an all-nighter for you every Saturday night. That means for 30 consecutive weekend hours, from 10 a.m. Saturday morning until 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon, you can find nonstop relief at Relief Resources Dispensary. Just order what you need online from one of the largest selections in the state, and it will be ready within minutes at Relief Resources Drive-Thru. Of course, medical decisions should not be based on advertising, and you should always consult a physician on the benefits and risks of particular medical marijuana products. And with over 500 products to choose from, you're sure to find one to provide the non-pharma medical relief you want, even after your second or third shift on Saturday night. When you're ready, we're ready. Relief Resources Dispensary in Grandview on 71 Highway at 140th Street and online at reliefmo.com.
Looking for a way to let your dog get some extra exercise?
Kansas City's hometown sports station.
Then it's time to check out Kansas City's newest premier doggy daycare and boarding
Kansas
facility,
City.
Lucky Paws KC, now open in Olathe. Olathe's new doggy daycare and boarding training center dedicated to providing a fun and safe environment for both large and small paws. And Lucky Paws offers grooming too. For more information, call 913-361-3888 or go to luckypawskc.com. Lucky Paws KC. We treat every dog like family.
This is Lee Sterling of ParamountSports.com, and gambling is legal now, so if you want to take advantage of it, just go to ParamountSports.com. We win on average 3 out of every 4 weeks in college football and the NFL. We even do baseball, UFC, hockey, and basketball. So you want the edge. You want the number one service in the country. You want to win. Just go to ParamountSports.com
right, 20 seconds.
or call 800-400-9741. Start winning today.
Hi, this is Brian Pringle with Victory Ford. We want to thank everyone listening to Sports Radio 810 and ESPN Kansas City for supporting our local business for the past year. Keep it local and happy holidays from all of us at Victory Ford. Go Chiefs!
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the number one motorsports show for 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Here are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Scott Traylor. He's Kirk Elliott. We're the Racing Boys. Todd Surprise running the dials here at Racing Boys HQ. And we got a new producer back there at Sports Radio 810, don't we, Kirk?
Yes, sir. Kyle.
How you doing, Kyle? Good to have you on board.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Well, we're glad to have you. So, I guess we probably ought to start off by saying Damar Hamlin, the football player that was injured on Monday night, that was I've got some strong opinions about that, to be honest with you.
Me and you both, Scott.
To be honest with you, Todd, and you know, you've been around me a long time. You know, I had a little bit of a problem with the production of that.
Yes, sir.
Of that game.
I knew immediately when I saw it, and I thought, I know what Scott Traylor would have done.
In motorsports, just so you know, in motorsports, whenever there's an accident on the racetrack, the first thing that you do is you take the camera off of the accident.
Give me something different to look at.
Whatever you do, don't focus in on the accident. Pull the camera away, take a nice wide shot, and they ultimately did that in the end. And a lot of the football players were blocking Hamlin from being seen as they were working on him on the field. But my biggest problem with that whole thing is when they replayed him falling down.
That was a non-need. That was for clicks and baits. That's what that was.
That's all that was.
It was terrible.
It's terrible. And as we know in motorsports, and listen, motorsports is a little bit different than racing, because the fact is in motorsports that we lose people in racing.
That happens
all the time.
Happens more than we'd like to know, but that's part of the
I made a small list of drivers that we've lost over the years: Jason Johnson, Keith Hutton, Brian Clausen, Greg Hognett, Steve King, Kevin Galbraith, Dale Earnhardt, Jason Leffler, Rich Vogler. We've lost a lot of drivers over the years, right?
Petties. It's just,
It's just part of our sport. And that's what makes our sport a little bit different than anybody else.
Agree.
Right?
All motorsports.
Motorsports is a sport where people, gosh, I hate to say it, but people lose their lives in motorsports. And unfortunately, Damar Hamlin didn't lose his life.
That's right.
And that is the great thing, man. And you know what is so great about it? And that GoFundMe page, they've raised almost $8 million so far.
It's really took off. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I feel bad for his family. There's family in the building. They didn't see that on TV, so they wasn't getting that replay over and over. But there were family of him all across the country watching that.
Right.
And they had to sit there and watch that relative of theirs
collapse
over and over
again
and over again. And I don't know. It wasn't good production on the TV side. That's what I would have said. The producer needs to be. I told my wife that the producer
needs to be fired
unless they were not being told, unless they were not the one being called the shots. Maybe in the NFL Network, but I can't imagine they would say show that.
Right. It just blew my mind when I saw that happen.
It was terrible.
Kirk, do you have any opinions on any of this?
I agree with everything you said. I just, it's a pretty tough situation, especially for a lot of people that are not used to seeing anything like that.
Right.
Those of us in racing, we've experienced a lot of situations that have been pretty dire over the years.
Right.
So we're kind of used to watching bad things happen on the playing field. So I think we were just dealing with a lot of people that have not had a lot of experience with this kind of a thing.
This was the closest thing when I was in the third row when Owen Hart fell.
Right, down at Kemper Arena.
And they did chest compression. They pulled his mask off. They're doing chest compressions right there in the ring.
And where they made the biggest mistake the matches went on, didn't they?
Well, two mistakes. They never told us in the crowd
that he had passed.
He passed. They told the home audience later on that night.
Oh, they never did tell the crowd?
No, we didn't know until Channel 4, 5, and 9 was there in the building when we walked out of the building. We had a pretty good idea that something major, but nobody told us that he had passed. So everybody in that building was still acting like wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand. So this is the only thing. When I heard the NFL wanted to restart the game. The players were the ones who said no.
I don't blame the players at all.
In Vince McMahon's case, that was a live pay-per-view,
right,
which was worldwide audience.
Yep.
He had a split decision to make. Do we keep the show going or we not? What do? We have we only have 3 matches left. Should we keep it going or should we wrap this thing up?
There's the difference between
I think the NFL
and Vince McMahon is
maybe
a money grabber.
But the NFL wanted to start the game back up, and the players this time were the ones who said no.
Right.
So, the NFL was ready to fire this game up as soon as everything was clear.
Yeah.
But then they came to the locker rooms and they said, hey, we already got guys showering. We're not, it's done.
We're not going back out on the field.
So it was made for them. Like if the wrestlers would have all said, we're done.
We're not going to wrestle.
But the difference is they get paid by one guy and the NFL is a union.
Right.
They have the NFL union. So that's what that's what came to me immediately. And I turned the channel, Scott, and I didn't watch
You didn't want to watch it.
No, I didn't watch any more of that until I figured the game was going to come back on, and we were an hour and a half later, and we're still.
Yeah.
And I realized we're done.
But as you know, Todd, and I believe you guys were doing Primetime Live when Jason Johnson passed away.
Matter of fact, I had picked Jason Johnson to win that race.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Kirk never usually do that type of pick a guy, but since we were live, and that was a major race, and we were pulling
Right.
it up, and it was live right in front. So we showed part of that, and we commentated on the race, and Kirk's voice immediately, he knew more before I did.
Well, when he got up into the signs, that was a bad deal.
And see, I'm kind of running, I'm running some cameras and stuff, so I'm kind of doing things. I'm listening to the race, but oh my gosh,
right,
immediately. So yeah, that was my second live right there. We right there, we're dealing with it and like you said, Kirk did a wonderful job of downplaying everything, unlike what was going on the NFL game. So yeah, if people are at home or listening on the radio, or if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook Live is having an issue this morning. We've tried 4 different streams.
Yeah,
that's why Kirk's
working on it right now.
That's why you see Kirk Elliott over there tapping away. So just so you know, guys.
Yeah. So anyway, Kirk, let me ask you a question. You were up at Oskaloosa, and you probably saw one of the most devastating wrecks you've ever seen in your life up there, didn't you, at Oskaloosa?
I did. That was August 12th, 2003.
Right.
And it was the worst thing I'd ever seen in my life. And, it's one of those situations in which you hope you never will see again. But
now,
we watched a man die on the racetrack, and it was one of those situations where everybody knew that he had died.
Right.
And I won't go into any details, but that was one of the most surreal nights I've ever experienced in racing. And the place was packed. It was right before the Knoxville Nationals. It was a non-wing event at the Southern Iowa Speedway in Oskaloosa, and 53-year-old Keith Hutton got up into the fence, and shall we say it was not a pretty sight.
He didn't survive. And you said it was so surreal because the preacher was on the PA saying prayers, and you felt like at the time
I wanted to leave.
You wanted to leave, but
I stayed.
Everybody stayed,
right.
Didn't they, Kurt?
Yeah, because we all experienced the same thing.